Hello golfers, this is Bob Laskin with 2minutegolf.com. Here's the 13th hole at the Augusta National Golf Club, Azalea. So only 5 yards longer than the 11th hole, which is a par 4. So, you can kind of say this is kind of a par 4.5, and it really doesn't matter what par is. It's just a great golf hole. And, you have to kind of bend it around the corner here. And the more turn you can have on it, the further and closer you can be to the green. Now, the funny story is when I played here back in the early 90s, just for fun, the gentleman I played with said, "Now this hole's a little dogleg left, par 5." And I said, "Yes, thank you." And on my birthday, when I was 11 years old, I won the LA City Junior, and my Mom said I could have anything in the pro shop, and I bought this book called The Masters, and I just kept looking at this hole over and over. Just my favorite hole all time. So I was so excited to be able to play it. And as you can see here, in the old persimmon days, like I said, the ball's spinning, the balato's spinning, so it's easy to spin the ball. So now you can kind of hit a 3-wood that would probably curve more than the current drivers, and so Bubba's line, oh my gosh, can you imagine over here? That's where Bubba hit it. It's just amazing he got that shot through. And and then you look up the historically Phil's shot from up here in the trees, just incredible shot. And so let's talk about that. So if you're hitting it up into this area, you've got to draw the ball so it kind of gets through left of these trees and in the fairway. And so you can cut a little bit here, but I think you'll see a lot of guys hitting 3-wood, because it's easier to hit a draw. It's got a little more loft. The driver's easier to fade, the 3-wood's easier to draw, just because of purely the loft on it. So if you can get it past this corner up into here and sling it around, that's really the safe play. And then if it doesn't go your way, the layup is just as important. And so Sevy, he used to say here up on this bank, now this is a very severe bank, and so this this lie, ball above your feet, makes you draw the ball. And so that makes the green, because the green runs this way, right? So that makes the green very narrow. So Sevy used to say, he was up here, he would actually hit a fade down the creek and then come in this way, and the green's very long, so that made the green a lot bigger. And it's a tougher shot, but certainly a percentage play. And so that's a kind of an old school play there too. But as you can see here, a good way to approach this green would be from here. Well, there's the creek. So a nice layup is up here, and if that pin's in front, you've got a little bit of the bank there behind you, but that's a tough shot. A little bit of a downhill shot. Gonna hit it in here, maybe get a little spin back. But if you don't go for it, that shot is very difficult. From this downhill lie, short pins in the back, no problem. It's not so important of where you lay up here. In that back right pin there, if you're down into here, that's a pretty easy pitch across the green. So a lot of angles here, depends on the pin placements. So they kind of, these guys know all of these pins, and they have a general idea of what days the pins are going to be in what positions. But again, little 3-wood draw, then they're going to be hitting it in here. Again, I like a little bit of cut coming in to this green this way, and then just a great hole. Now, one of the other things that happened here is, in the old days, they didn't have this little runoff here, and so when they did that, this used to be a really good bailout. And so once they took, once they made these mounds in there, that becomes a much more difficult spot to chip from. And so it wasn't such a bailout. And then another great story is one of my good friends, Jeff Hart, played in the Doral Open, and Faldo was playing, and Faldo missed the cut, and he saw him practicing this downhill bunker shot for 45 minutes. He thought, wow, that guy must be really bored, ran out of things to practice. And then, a few months later, Faldo's in this bunker, pins down here, and he knocks it stiff. So, you know, these players, they know what shots they're going to have, what potential, you know, trouble they're going to have, and they're practicing these shots. From January, these top players are thinking about Augusta and practicing these other shots, and that's what makes this place just so special.